involvement tonight. I love it. I love to see the smiles. And so just show me your smiles. And David's come up, and he's going to pray for me. I always like it when he prays before I speak.
Father in heaven, we just thank you for your love and for this day and for the opportunity that you've given Shawn to share her heart, Lord. And I just pray that you'd anoint her tongue and just loose it to speak everything that you have for her to spill out to everybody. And I just pray that the ears would be open and hearts would be open to receive what you have for them, and that people would have an encounter with you tonight. And I thank you and pray in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen.
Amen. Come on.
This is perfect. Let's just give us a couple seconds to get set up.
Come on.
Thank you very much. That was pretty awesome. You can turn me down a little bit. All righty. So I just want to say hello. I have seen a lot of you in my house, which just blesses me. And so now I get all of you all in one spot, not in the yard, in the downstairs. You're all in one spot. So if you on the edges, I'm going to put you on the spot. If you want to come over here, because you're not going to be able to see some of the slides if you're over there. So everybody scooch into the center if you can. All right. Well, we're just going to start right off. How about that? Once we get all our stuff here. There's a lot of props on this little tiny table. All right. Well, let's just jump in. Tools. Tools can help us, right, in life. They can make our life easier. They can also, on the flip side, they could be a distraction from life or do, not be healthy. So take this computer, for example. This computer can be used to surf the web. It can be, I printed my sermon on it. It can be used in all kinds of different ways. And yet, if it's used in an unhealthy way, then it is, you can surf and do porn on it and all that kind of stuff. And so it suddenly becomes a tool that has went south, right? And then take the phone, same kind of thing. I can do online banking, look at Facebook, Instagram, and yet it can be a distraction, and you can stop spending time with the people that are in the room with you because you're too busy texting. And you can have Facebook fights on it. There's just all kinds of ways that you can have a good tool that goes bad. Same thing with the Enneagram. This is really, really important as we launch into this. Please hear my heart on this. The Enneagram, to me, has been a powerful tool. I use it alongside the Myers-Briggs test, and they're both personality tests. And as a 2, it's been hard sometimes to navigate the different personalities. And if you're a 2 in here, you probably agree that we get hurt easy sometimes. But using the Enneagram and knowing that people just function differently has helped me immensely. So that is the beautiful side of an Enneagram. The flip side of the Enneagram, if we use it like this, is, let's say, we put people in a box. Statistics show that a 2, this is just statistics, so 8s, don't be worried. But statistics do show that 2s and 8s bump heads. A lot. What's interesting about that, it also shows that 2s and 8s make good married couples. But my point is, if we put ourselves in a box and say, hey, I just can't get along with an 8, I'm a 2. Or he's just a jerk, he's an 8, right? That's when the Enneagram becomes bad. And so 8s, I'm not picking on you. I love 8s. My mom is an 8. So anyways, that is just kind of my heart behind the Enneagram. I find it to be a powerful tool when used correctly. So what I think is the key, though, is that everything has to be bounced off the Word of God. This has to be our root. It's kind of like, I'm a gardener, and there's always like if there's a flower, there's a main tap root that comes down, and that keeps the plant alive. And there's other little roots that go off of it, and those help it bloom and things like that, but they don't keep it alive. And so I feel like this is our tap root, and these other tools, they can be helpers. So I've had a couple people where, we talk and say, we were in a circle earlier and we were saying, what are you, what are you, what are you? And some people are going, what are you talking about? So especially if you're a first timer tonight, we're talking about the Enneagram, and it's a biblically based personality test. It ranks people between 1 and 9. And then if you dive into it, they do wings and subtypes and things like that. But we're just going to cover we're going to do 2s tonight because I'm a 2, but we're going to touch a base on a couple other numbers because of how it works in with a 2. So last week, I was watching J.O., and he did he did a survey with you guys, a hand survey, who was 1s, 2s, 3s, and whatever. And so I heard that the 7s, 8s, and 9s got skipped, I think. And so this is what I'm going to do, because I was at home with a hurt hip, and I couldn't see who in the crowd was what. So this is perfect, because we don't want to skip those 7, 8s, and 9s. So let's do this. Let's start at 9s. If you're a 9, raise your hand. Woo! All right. If you're an 8, 8s, I love you 8s. 7s. That's hilarious. Oh, man. Okay, 6s. 5s. What? Oh my, what? Are you sure? Did you take the test correct? I can't believe that. That is amazing. Sorry. Say it again. Let's do it again. 5s. Okay, perfect. 4s. 4s, I'm taking the... 3s. What? Are you alone? Matt is all but woo-hoo. 2s. Oh my goodness. That. All right. And then 1s. 1. You're a 1? Okay. Thank you guys for doing that with me. So the Enneagram is basically it's just a personality test, like I was saying, for all of you that are new. And so J.O. our lead pastor, spoke on what it was like to be a 1, and he did that last week. So I'm going to hop in and talk about what it's like to be a 2. And if you're a 2, a lot of this is going to resonate with you. And some of it is going to touch a nerve. Like, I read it, and let me tell you, it touched some nerves. And then, if you ever want to be totally wrecked, agree to preach. Because he totally wrecked me in my living room this last week. And I'll share a little bit about that. So the personality 2, how are we doing on slides? Oh, are you on slides? Okay, I'll help you. Okay, there we go. So the Enneagram is great in understanding how people are different. And so look, these are my girls, our girls. So look how much they look alike. However, they couldn't be more different. Yeah, anybody that knows them. Yeah. So Alexis is a 5. Gracie is a 7. I am a 2, and Dave is a 9. So under our roof, we had 4 different personality types. And there was, of course, moments that weren't great, but for the most part, God, when God's in the center, you can have all 4 types under one roof and just be fine. In fact, thrive. So anyways, those are my girls. All right, Gatorade. All right. Number 2 personality is considered the helper. And helper has 2 wings. So it's just basically 1 between 9, and then, of course, we're a 2, and it's the number to the right and number to the left, and that's our wings. So a 2 with a wing 1 is called the servant, and a 2 with a wing 3 is called the hostess, and that's what I am. And my hero, it was really cool, Mother Teresa, is a 2-1, and it shows just how awesome, she was definitely lived a life of servanthood. So I was going to read when I was tasked to talk about what a 2 was. I was reading in here, and I thought, I can't even do it any justice compared to this. So I'm just going to read an excerpt from the Enneagram Institute on what a 2 is. So listen up here, because if you've got 2s in your life, this is kind of like an inside window into who they are. 2s are empathetic, sincere, and warm-hearted. They are friendly, generous, and self-sacrificing. But they can also be sentimental, flattering, and people-pleasing. They are well-meaning and driven to be close to others, but can slip into doing things for others in order to be needed. They typically have problems with possessiveness and with acknowledging their own needs. At their best, they are unselfish and altruistic, and they have unconditional love for others. The basic fear of this is awesome. The basic fear of a 2 is not feeling wanted. And so everything, if we're unhealthy, everything that we do is from a launch pad of not feeling like we're wanted. Our basic desire is to feel loved. And then we talked about the Enneagram a 2 with a wing 1 is a servant. 2 with a wing 3 is the hostess. The key motivations: they want to be loved, to express their feelings for others, to be needed and appreciated, to get others to respond to them, and to vindicate their claims about themselves. All right. This next slide, the Enneagram, you'll see each of you on here. So a 2, when they're under stress, will go to an 8, the negative traits of an 8. Domineering, bossy, domineering, bossy, and edgy. Dave's like, yes. And if they're healthy, the healthier they are, they start to have the attributes of a 4, the good of a 4. So that's kind of how we operate at 8s, or is it 2s? If you feel yourself going into an 8, try to dial back a little bit. So study those negative traits on an 8, okay? And shoot for the good part of a 4. It really sounds like I'm picking on 8s. I'm not at all. My goodness. Okay, so healthy 2s. there we are. Healthy twos, average twos, and unhealthy twos. All right. And one of my props is down here. All right, this book is so awesome. It's a great introduction to the Enneagram. So it's called The Road Back to You by Ian Morgan Crone and Susan Stabile. It is such a good book. It has each of us in there. I'm going to read an excerpt of what a healthy two is. So you can see if you're a two in here, you can see which category you're in. Healthy twos can often name their own needs and feelings without fear of losing relationships. They are generous in their efforts to love well and care for others. These happy, secure twos also have appropriate boundaries, knowing what is theirs to do and what is not. They create a comfortable, safe space for others and are often considered to be a friend to many. Loving and lovable, they adapt well to changing circumstances and are aware of their true self that exists beyond the relationships. An average two, they're convinced that the expression of their own needs and feelings will automatically threaten the stability of their relationships. They are generous people, but they often consciously or subconsciously expect something in return for their efforts. They have poor boundaries and generally only know themselves in relation to other people. They are this one's funny to me. They are attracted to powerful people whom they expect to define them, and they will use flattery to pull them in. That's average. All right, here we go. Unhealthy twos are codependent in their desire to be loved. They will accept almost any substitute, appreciation, neediness, companionship. These twos are insecure, manipulative, and often play the role of the martyr. They don't give so much as they invest, trying to earn love by meeting others' needs, but always expecting a high return on their investment. But I'm sure we have none of those in here. Right?
Can I say something?
Yes.
I was an unhealthy two about 3 to 5 years ago.
So you recognize some of that?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So where do you find yourself now?
Healthy two.
Unhealthy too. Woohoo! All righty. So here we go. Like that couldn't get bad enough, right? So everyone on the Enneagram has what's called a core sin. Yes. We're going to go there. Because God went there. So I have to tell you that our core sin twos, actually 2, 3s, and 4s, is pride. Now, at first I didn't truly get that. I've been studying the Enneagram with my daughter for about 3 years. My oldest daughter that you saw up there that's a 5, she has studied in depth the Enneagram for 7 years. As deep as you can go, she has went. And so, and then I joined her in this journey about 3 years ago. And she teaches classes on it, and she came to our house and kind of taught a class. Yes, Gavin's like, yeah, I was there. And so she's been really helpful in helping me recognize things. It's interesting, though, that in the midst of all our conversations, I really, truly didn't get this. And then Zach asked me to preach. It's your fault, Zach. And I was standing in my living room, and I asked God just to bring me revelation that would cut through whatever needed to be cut through, would cut off whatever needed to be cut off, and he did. All of a sudden, it's like he opened my eyes to how deep-seated pride was in my life. So get this, twos love to be listeners. right? Lots of people go to twos. If they're having a bad day, they go to a two. Twos will listen. Do us a favor and not dump all your junk on us, because we kind of take it. Yeah, we kind of take it. But oftentimes a two won't give back in that relationship as far as being authentic. So we're happy to listen to you, be authentic, and tell us everything you're going through. But oftentimes twos aren't willing to drop their guard and talk about themselves. If you don't think that's true, try to name with a two their favorite food, things like that. And all of a sudden you'll go, you know what? I don't know as much about you as I thought I did. Because twos typically don't want to drop their guard. So that's where this comes in. If we are offering advice and comfort and all of that into your life, and we're not giving in return, what we're saying is, I've got my life together, I'm going to help you. Yeah. I've got it all together, I'm going to help you. So God really met me in that and showed me that pride is deep-seated and that he wants to pull it out like a bad weed. He also reminded me, as I was going through this process, that he takes pride very seriously, and so should we. Satan was in perfect heaven, and because of his pride, got thrown out of heaven. That is how far pride goes back. And so I take it very seriously now. I am grieved by it when I see it cropping up in my life. I'm very humbled by it. James 4:10 says, "Humble yourself before the Lord, and he will exalt you." Proverbs 11:2 says, "When pride comes, then comes disgrace, but with the humble is wisdom." Proverbs 22:4, "The reward for humility and fear of the Lord is riches and honor and life." So where do we go from here? So here's some things to know about twos. These are kind of some good ones and some bad ones. For me, these are personal struggles. So for me, so if you're a two, these might not all apply. For me, some struggles that I have, some things that hurt, are when people exclude me. What's surprising, so I'm a 2 wing 3, which is the hostess. I have parties at my house all the time. I love to have parties. Yeah. You know what's interesting? People don't usually invite me to parties. And that's, to me, that's kind of, so that is hurtful. But isn't that interesting? Like, you know, we just recently had a game night at our house. And I mean, it's a lot of work to get ready for these game nights, and I got all ready, and I'm excited to see him, and got all the food, and went grocery shopping, did all the stuff that goes before it, got all the games out and ready, and then everybody came, and then we well, it's time for games, because we were just kind of chatting. It's time for games, and everybody rushed to the table, and there was no seat for me. So, and I'm not feeling sorry for myself, because I actually had 2 books come from Amazon. So, I went and sat on the couch and read those. But that is something that an unhealthy two would really have been offended by. And I shared that with my daughter, who's a 5, and she's like, "I can't even believe that. That shocks me that would hurt your feelings, or that would even be happening." And you're laughing. She's like, "What?" And she says, "Because," and I said, "Well, what was going through your mind during that time when I'm going, where's my seat? What are you thinking?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm already thinking about who's going to be discussing the game, and who's going to tell the rules, and who's this and who's," and this. She has a whole different thought process. So that's a perfect example that We shouldn't take things so personally, twos, because they're probably thinking something totally different than you are. And they probably didn't even think to invite you to the table. I thank God too, not only did I have 2 really awesome books that I was reading, but the minute I had that feeling in my spirit of, there's no spot for me at the table. And Jesus came in just like he always does, softly but strongly, you know what I mean? And he says, that's been me so many times in your life.
Oh my God.
So it was, yeah. So don't feel sorry for yourself. So anyways, I love how God works, and in a situation that could have been bad, God works and works it all together. So another thing that's really hard on me is if I know that I've disappointed someone. 2s are going, yeah. If somebody uses harsh words with me, if you talk to me like you would a direct 8, I will be offended. The 8's going, just bring it to me. Don't fluff the words, just bring it to me. And I'm like, fluff every single word. So another thing that breaks my heart, and this is like a serious part, and God's been really bringing this to me, and I didn't realize as a 2 how much it was breaking my heart. But gossip. I go after that with a vengeance, just like pride. Gossip, when people try to gossip to me, I will typically take it right back to them and say, hey, have you talked to that person? Things like that. Gossip is a destroyer of relationships. A destroyer. And so it's also unbiblical. Proverbs 20:19. Oh man, I'm glad this got up here. Good job, guys. Woohoo. Okay, whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. Therefore, do not associate with a simple babbler. Pretty direct. Proverbs 11:13. Whoever goes about slandering reveals secrets. So it says the same thing, but he who is trustworthy in spirit keeps a thing covered. And you know what? This guy down here is such a confidence. He definitely, you are one of the most confidential people I know. Yeah. So gossip. We got to get rid of that gossip. I love in our membership at our church when you go through Growth Track and you become a member, I love that they have a part in there where you check off that you will not gossip. You know what? That is a foundation of an awesome church. Yeah. Right? Like, that is so powerful. We have only a certain amount of conversations in our life. So we have a certain amount of days, right? Hours, conversation, words. And so let's spend them lifting people up, cheering them on towards the kingdom, right? Yeah. Use those same words that we could have gossiped with and to exhort them or to lift them up, right? All right. Things that people have done to bless me as a 2. Take note of this. So my oldest Alexis came from Boise on my birthday, and I was actually headed to a friend's house that morning. On my birthdays, I like to block off my time by hours and see all my different friends. So the whole birthday is just a wonderful thing. And so I was headed over to my friend's house, and I kept getting, this is a wonderful thing that happened, but I kept getting birthday calls on the phone. And then Alexis called me and kept talking. Now, this is my kid that doesn't talk very much. And she kept talking and talking, and I'm going, what the heck? So finally get off the phone. I'm getting ready to rush down across the street to go see my friend, and she calls again. And so I'm putting on my shoes, so I throw my phone to Gracie and say, answer it. And she gave me this funny look, and then the doorbell rings. And I'm like, I'm never going to get to my friend's house. And I go down, and it's Alexis at the door on my birthday, drove clear from Boise. That was such an amazing gift. It was intentionality. It was thinking about what I would like. Like, that was just a great gift. Another great blessing to me is you young adults. Those that have been over to my house. This past year with COVID, and then I had 2 heart surgeries, and Pops had a back surgery, and what a year for us, right? But what lifted us up the most, without a doubt, are you young adults that have come over the house. And Chase is back there waving his hand. Yeah. Because, there was times where I was laying in bed day after day after day, and you guys would show up and give me flowers or give me coffee or whatever. Caterade picked me up from the hospital. I mean, you just really all blessed us so much and loved on us so well. Gracie gave me a painting for a birthday that she painted. She's an excellent painter. That meant a lot to me. And words that breathe life into me, that's another thing a 2 loves. What does that mean? Are you serious? We're that time of the night, I guess. Okay. I'm almost done, actually. Okay. This next analogy, I promise you, last analogy. This last analogy is a 2 getting raw, and a 2 laying things down and saying, you know what, I trust you enough to talk about this. So 27 years ago, when Dave and I got married, his uncle was a pilot. And so he owned his own helicopter. And so after our wedding, we go outside, and we got married in November, so it's a snowstorm. And there was some talk, like, are we going to take off or whatever? And so we walk down to the helicopter, and they say, yeah, all is a go. And we hop in, and it was like a fairy tale. We took off, and the snow just went. It was really awesome. I had all these great feelings about the moment and about our wedding and all that kind of stuff. And then fast forward about 5 years, I think, we didn't know it. My whole life I was pretty healthy, and then about 22, I think it was, I started having heart trouble. And it was the first surgery of 11. So, just to give you an idea, lots of heart issues. So this one particular time, the doctors, because we lived in a rural town, the doctor says we're not going to make it in time if we don't get her in a helicopter and get her to Sacred Heart. And so I remember very vividly them. I was on a gurney, and they were pushing me down to the launch pad where the helicopter was waiting. And it was a whole different feeling, right? The last time I went down to a launch pad was happiness and excitement for the future. And this time I go down to the launch pad, and it's very, very different. And then on top of that, there was a terrible windstorm through all of it. Like, when I read this story in the Bible about the disciples in the boat and the wind, I totally relate. There was so much wind that night that when we took off in the helicopter and we got out over Coeur d'Alene Lake, they had to go down closer to the lake and hover a little bit. And granted, we're in a hurry, right? So they hovered a little bit because it was just so rough. And then up we went, and off to the hospital we went, and obviously things went good. So that was a completely different experience, that launch pad. So I had all these reservations about flying again, a lot of fear. I fly in a jet, but for some reason never wanted to be in a helicopter again. But for our 25th anniversary, Pops took me to Kauai, and so I wanted to surprise him with a gift, and I decided to charter a helicopter to fly over the Nepali coast and the Waimea Canyon, and that all sounds beautiful until I realized that, and I didn't even realize it until I started walking up to the launch pad, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I have some fear going on here. You know, like knees shake fear. And some reservations, but you know what? It's a gift. I got to keep going. I got to go on this helicopter. And so we did. And you know what? We went up, and there was freedom in the sky because we had endured the rough, and we got to the sky was so beautiful, and I'll never forget with the Waimea Canyon. The Waimea Canyon has bazillion waterfalls in it. And our helicopter guide, he took us in the center of it, and he slowly spun the helicopter around so we could see all angles of it, and up the Nepali coast. And do you know what? We wouldn't have endured the bumps, we would have never saw what we did. So our launch pad needs to be Jesus, right? Because when we start our day with this, everything else goes better. It may not be perfect, but it goes better. But Jesus Christ has to be our launch pad. Yeah. So I'm going to fast forward real quick to the call on our life. Mark 12:30, love the Lord with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. 12:31 says, and the second is this, love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment than this. Our last slide is a quote by C.S. Lewis. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start right where you're at and change the ending, by C.S. Lewis. I believe in you guys. I see greatness already in you. I am excited for the greatness to come. And I just want to pray a blessing over you. I wasn't planning this, but I want to pray a blessing over you. Because I feel such strength in this room. You are world changers. Each of you has a call on your life. It doesn't matter what your number is. Jesus knows the number of hairs on your head. You are precious to him. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And when you wake up in the morning, you're already good enough. You don't need words of other people. You have the words of our Savior over you. So, Lord, I just pray over this entire room. I pray, let your anointing fall. Revelation, Lord, I pray that you just implant it into their hearts and their minds. I pray that you bless them. Or they could be many different places tonight, but they came here searching after you. And I just thank you for that. Amen. All right, our questions tonight. I don't know what that is. What surprised you? So tonight our discussion questions are what surprised you about twos and how will you better love the twos in your life? What about tonight applied to you? And are you ready to embrace the call that God has on your life? And what are some action steps that you're going to take?